need, some of my priorities and goals are stuff that needs to get done, that needs to be changed. Our bylaws, as Senator Jamil mentioned, our 700s, they do not look good. And that is something that needs to be changed. Now, one thing that I will say that if I were to be elected vice chair would greatly assist in this effort would be to promote transparency within our body and outside of it. I have been trying for a couple years now to introduce a public database for students who are not in the student association to access any documents that can be publicly accessible. Now, some of you that may be in government may know this as something that's called a Freedom of Information Act or Freedom of Information Law. Now, I want to take the jargon that New York State cooked up, and I found a way to make it literally into 2 bylaws. So, I believe that effort would be greatly boosted as I would be able to not only work hand in hand with other leaders within the student association, but also have more power behind my advocacy to build this public database that would contain voting records, would contain minutes, agenda, purchase requests that are publicly accessible, anything that is not contracts or trade secrets, I would make sure is publicly accessible.
I think at the head of every significant movement, anything that has created significant change, there's always been a leader. Now, various names may come to mind at this time: Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Justice Warren during his significant reign of court, Martin Luther King, various different people who headed very significant movements and changes. And so I think you need to be a leader to facilitate change. Are you doing the bulk of the work? No. You've got various people that you're working with, various people that have the same goals, various people that you're aiding and that are coming up with these unique ideas to create change, but you need a leader who is willing to step up and guide people, and people who will reflect the behavior of this leader. I think that any significant change that we want to happen to the student body, whether it's greater collaboration, greater outreach, we all must work together, right? But we need somebody who's going to step up and initiate that and hold people accountable and make sure that they are delivering what they have promised to the student body. And I will be that leader for all of you.
I think the reason that in order to get my goals done, I need to be vice chair is because of the voice it gives you. I think that for a lot of senators, myself included, if I were to, say, come up with a document that was step-by-step for bills, it would mean a whole lot less coming from me sitting in that corner than it would from me as vice chair announcing it. Coming up with those resources in collaboration with the chair, I think that it also gives you access to a lot of the resources needed to make large changes. The person that is supposed to, or the people that are supposed to provide documents, update various documents for you all, are the chair and vice chair. And that position is a voice to provide those and to come up with ideas that are more powerful, more meaningful. You're at executive board meetings. You have the voice to provide to the rest of the leadership, which then can provide to the rest of the body in a significantly more meaningful manner.
All right, thank you very much. We're going to move on to Senator Matapet. You had a question? He needs a mic.
What would you say is one attribute or one plan that you have for the future of SA as a vice chair that you would want to implement in the future?
One plan that I would want to make sure is implemented long after my reign, I guess, in Senate, would be continuous and strong relations between the student body and the senators. I would want to make sure there's active communication. I would want to make sure that we are reflecting what the student body wants. I would want to make sure that there's not a disconnect between the people who have been elected and the people who want to be represented out there. So through the various forms of unique ideas that I have, such as the outreach boxes, social media, and that kind of thing, I would want to make sure that we do stay representing the people who have elected us and are not straying away to our own agendas, but sticking to the agenda of the general student body.
I think the main plan that I am going into this position with in mind is to fix the issues of the past, and I outlined those already, so I won't go over that fully. But I think that fixing the issues, those previous bylaw issues or transparency issues or engagement issues or accountability issues are something that creates a precedent for it to be fixed in the future. With this plan in mind, I hope to not only fix those things, but to show how I fixed them. So that in the future, those fixes can not be fixes anymore, they can be permanent structures within Senate, and permanent fixtures to assist all of you in what you're doing and to create a smoother operations within SA as a whole.
So I have two things that I want to see implemented and continue to be executed long after my term. Increasing turnout in elections, and not just turnout, but participation in people running for those seats. I also want to see the goals that you guys have in mind implemented. Many people mentioned earlier, including myself, about how this body allows you to do whatever you want in terms of your advocacy. If you are passionate about, say, college affordability, we've had resolutions come out of this body about college affordability that have breeded success, and long-term success at that. We have had bylaw changes that have restructured the way our operations work, and they have streamlined them for the better. So I really want to see the engagement increased, but I also want to see your guys' goals come to fruition long after your terms have expired.
Yes, correct. All right, so yes. All right, thank you. So we're going to move on to the next questioner, Senator Matuparov. Is that correct? I said that right?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Go ahead, you can ask your question.
So going off of a question that was posed previously, what relationship do the candidates feel should be held between the senators and the vice chairs?
I think that's an easy one. That it should be an intimate relationship where you feel comfortable coming to me for help, and I feel comfortable going to you to inform you of the ongoings of the body, and for me to ask you for help if I need it. The vice chair position has a lot of duties that are undefined, and I think that those duties rely on the other senators. One thing that I've been saying since I decided to run is that all of you are here for different reasons. Like every single one. Look to the people, your right and left, like we're all here for something different. My job as vice chair would be to make all of those happen. Despite my personal feelings on whatever bill you're making, I want to make sure that you're doing it right, and then we can debate it on the floor. Like the job is to help all of you and to make your dreams happen and build you up. No.
So the relationship between vice chair and senators is one that should be collaborative, productive, and also personal. Now, what I mean by personal is getting to know you on the personal level, removing the barrier of, say, I'm your vice chair and you're a senator. I want to remove that barrier because at the end of the day, we're all just people trying to get their education and degrees here. We all have the same goals in mind to get out of here as quick as we can and start on with our futures. I would foster that environment by ensuring that whenever I'm in the office, my door's always open. And I have always maintained sort of that little policy with just about anyone throughout my entire 3 terms before this, that I am always available to people as a resource, whether it's 2 p.m. and you have a question about what's going on with the bylaws, or it's 3 a.m. and you're up like me writing a resolution. I really do believe that the relationship between a vice chair and a senator can be collaborative, productive, and personal, and it leads to more success not only within this body, but in the advocacy that comes outside of this body.
I feel that the relationship between the senators and the vice chair is one that should be very comfortable, very inviting, very friendly, but also productive. So we should see one another as people to bounce ideas off of, people to get resources from. If you need help through the process of drafting a bill, who are the people that I talk to? Who's the administration that handles this issue? And directing you to proper resources, but also having the ability to stand up and say, if you come up with a question and I don't know the answer, being able to say that, being able to say, I'm not aware of how to provide you with this resource, and directing you to, say, the chair. So I think it should be a relationship where there's open communication and it's very comfortable, where you're not hesitating to come to me with any questions or any ideas you may have. You don't hesitate for a second before coming to me with anything at all, any concern. It should be very comfortable, and it should be one where there's open communication so that there's not a disconnect between the senators and the leadership.
All right, thank you very much. So next on my question list, I have Senator Faccialonga. You may ask your question.
Hello. So, in the event of the chair's absence, are you confident in your ability to preside over the body? What skills will you bring to the table to satisfy the job? And how will you enforce rules, maintain order, etc.?
I love this question. So as I mentioned earlier, that book right there, the Robert's Rules of Order book, is thoroughly worn and used, and for a good reason. Now, if I were to have to step into the chair position in the absence of Chair McGrath, I believe that I could serve confidently, efficiently, and ensure that this body moves along with the business of the night. I basically know that book like the back of my hand at this point. There is not a single meeting that you won't see me without that book, reading through it at any given moment to ensure that we are following our procedures, to ensure that we are following our bylaws. Because as I mentioned earlier, I'm a stickler, not just a stickler to be an advocate, but also a stickler to make sure that we are following the right processes, so we don't get sued in court by a student group and maybe even have an injunction put on our operations. We don't want that. So I believe that if I had to step into the chair position at any given moment, I can serve with grace and I can serve with efficiency.
I believe that I could easily step in for the chair if needed. This is my 3rd year during Senate, so I've seen a lot of these proceedings. I even actually chaired once, I will say. It was over Zoom, but it was a thing. And it was very thrilling, it was fun. And I feel that I would have no issues stepping up and leading people and directing people. And I will say, that book over there, no, I don't know all the pages in that book. I'm not fully versed in it. But I feel like being a leader, you have to know how to guide the room, guide the environment, and know the basics. And not everybody in this room will ever know that entire book, and that's okay. You're not expected to. You're expected to be familiar with it. You're expected to know how to go through it when necessary, how to find and point out the right rules, and I have that ability. And I feel that with that, I can teach others how to use it if needed, and also be a great leader if needed, and step up to the chair in her absence.
I absolutely believe that I am not only capable but proficient enough to run a meeting in that absence. I have been involved, while I haven't chaired a Senate meeting, I have chaired other meetings. I've chaired meetings for the Northern New York Community Foundation. Using Robert's Rules of Order, I've been in multiple organizations that use Robert's Rules of Order. I'm very capable in that sense, and I'm confident enough to say when I don't know, and I'm willing to take a breather, check, and move forward. But otherwise, I do believe that I know the Senate guidelines, bylaws, and Robert's Rules of Order in a significant capacity that would assist me in chairing over meetings that I needed to.
All right, thank you, candidates. So the next person that I have on my list for questions is Senator Regatero. You can ask your question.
Right now, SA's reputation amongst the student body is broken. Students are having the feeling that their voice is not being heard in this body. So how would you guys, as the next vice chair of our Senate, fix SA's reputation and make sure that students' voices are being further uplifted?
That's a great question. I think first and foremost, we have to implement some sort of a decorum/conduct policy. When you're in this room, you're not only representing yourself. It's not just me, Sarah Jamil, but I'm a senator who's representing the entire student body. And you have to essentially take that title into account when you're in here and when you're speaking regarding controversies, regarding any policies. You must take that all into account as it not only reflects on you, but this organization as a whole. So I would, within those collaboration conventions and workshops, kind of enforce a sort of policy where not that you're taught, but you're given advice on how to hold yourself when you're within this body and also when you're outside of it. Furthermore, to ensure that students know that they're being heard, I would like to kind of send out not only emails to everyone, but again, advertise through social media, a regular kind of list and tracker of bills that are passed. So bills that are being worked on, bills that are passed, if anybody has any opinions on current bills that they think are necessary to give for us to, deliver a very well-rounded outcome. So I would be communicating that tracker to everybody so that they know exactly what we're up to and what we're working on. And furthermore, send out regular polls, forms for people to fill out, and ask them how they think we're doing at various times throughout the year, every month, a monthly form to get everybody else's reaction on how they think SA is performing and how well they think we are representing them. So with this live tracker, so that people know exactly what we're working on, and if it's up to their expectations, we kind of be able to gauge their reactions and work accordingly so that we're not working like Senator Wheeler said, in a reactive manner, but we're constantly throughout the year keeping in check of if our work and if our progress is reflective of what the student body wants.
So like I've I've said in previous questions, I think we need to go to the root of the issue. Students don't have faith in us because they don't know what we're due, and the times that they do see us, it's because something crazy happened during a meeting or some event went awry, and we need to prevent those things from happening, so that we can, as I said with the election, inform people what SA does, and how we're doing that through the access of any document they want. I also believe that if we do get a more active student body, that many of them would be curious if their representatives are representing them. So I think that students should be able to, so Mike, you're an at-large senator. So any student that you represent, which is all of them, should be able to look at you and say, what's Mike voting for? Oh, I don't like what Mike's voting for. Maybe I won't vote for him next time, so that I am better heard, I am better represented as a whole. And then when they do like what Mike is voting for, then maybe they'll start to listen to you. And then you have a higher voice. And then you can say, I am going to this event, I'm helping out with this event, you should go here, you should go there. So informing students of who their senators are, what they're doing, so that you can uplift them. It's like a snowball rolling down a hill, you know? One step leads to another, leads to another, leads to another. Yeah, I think it's straightforward. We need to fix the issue.
So you're right, SA has a reputation problem. Part of that is on us as a body and us as an organization, because we as an organization have been failing, and I'm going to beat this horse continuously, to reach our constituents where they're at. So if we really want to turn around the image people have about SA, it starts with, as I mentioned, reaching out to our constituents and meeting them where they are. It starts with hosting Meet the Senate events, which we had 2 years ago that were very productive, and we had people come out to them, and we learned about critical issues impacting the greater community at this university. But we didn't do that last year. We barely even hosted town halls last year. We need to be hosting more town halls. We need to be increasing our social media presence, which, again, Caleb has done a great job at in his role as Director of Marketing and Programming. But we can go further. We've heard about transparency, we heard about accountability, but it is also about creating personal relationships with our peers, ensuring that we're going into classes to advertise what SA does, what our functions are, how we have $3 million to offer students. That is an important perspective. Another way that we can increase our outreach and increase our image is by actually advertising scholarships this time around. We offer so much free money to students, yet students aren't taking advantage of it because they don't know about these opportunities. A lot of it comes down to informing the greater constituency about what we have to offer, but also garnering feedback from them on what we can do better, how we can be better representatives within this body, and how we can push their agenda. Because again, we aren't elected for ourselves, we're elected by the people outside this boardroom and the members of the public that are sitting in this boardroom. We are accountable to them and them only. So we need to remember that when we are not only in this boardroom, but also conducting ourselves outside this boardroom.
All right, thank you very much. So next on my list for questions, I have Senator Goldsmith. Go ahead, you can ask a question. And for this round, I think we will start with Senator Wheeler, right?
Yeah, you ended.
Yes, I'm pretty sure Senator Wheeler, yeah. Go ahead.
So originally I had one question in mind, and then I decided to change it literally last minute as the microphone was handed to me, so excuse if the phrasing's a bit off. And if you want me to rephrase it or ask it again, you can, just because I don't know any better way of asking it right now. In the event that you lose, how will you conduct yourself afterwards?
Well, civilly, I hope. I think that any senator in this room has a duty to be civil and a duty to be active. If I don't win this election, you can bet that I'll be talking every meeting, and I'll be active in creating bills, trying my best to create resources for everyone, and overall attempting to help the chair and vice chair with the issues that I'm fighting for right now. I'm still gonna try, and I think it's up to you all to help me with that. Civilly.
Yeah, I think it goes to Senator Klein next.
Oh.
Yep.
I'll second that. What I will say is, if I do lose this election tonight, and I have already discussed this with all the declared candidates, I'm confident in whoever will be our vice chair out of any of the picks up here. I believe that we will have a successful year. Now, if I don't win this election this year, you know what to expect from me, pumping out bills. Last year, I was proud to pass the most legislation in this body that weren't nominations. Those were resolutions and bylaw changes. So I will remain active. I'll be up at 5 a.m. writing my resolutions like you know I do. And I will be here every single Wednesday fighting for the student voice.
If I don't win this election tonight, like I said earlier to Senator Tibbetts' question, I will remain optimistic. I know that I'll still be able to achieve all my goals and create the change that I wish to create as vice chair through the future vice chair, whoever it may be between the two candidates beside me, who are amazing candidates, of course. I'm sure that the student body will be led in a very great way towards great change, and I will not back down from being as active as I would be as your vice chair. I will still be a very active senator. I'm not going to, go Senate all of a sudden, but yeah, I will remain optimistic about the future.
Thank you very much. Next on my list for questions, I have Senator Velasquez. So whenever you're ready, you can answer your question. Or ask your question, not answer your question.
Thank you. So I just have a simple question. What's going to set you apart from previous vice chairs?
Could you say that again?
I want to know this. What's going to set you apart from previous vice chairs?
And I believe Senator Wheeler just went, so I believe it's back to Senator Klein. Yes.
So what's going to set me apart from previous vice chairs is a little bit of shade here, impartiality. Previous vice chairs have been sort of tilted towards more of an ideological stance in their terms of conducting their duties. I would like to take a more impartial stance. I also believe something that separates me from previous vice chair candidates is I'm coming into this with running for this position with more than 2 terms under my belt. The previous, I believe, 3 vice chairs have all been either 1 or 2-term senators. And I believe that separates me from a lot of previous vice chairs, especially within my experience within our governing documents, Robert's Rules of Order, our bylaws, our Constitution. I believe that I hold a very, very big advantage over previous vice chairs.
I believe that what sets me apart from previous vice chairs is that I present to you not only a unique set of ideas, but they are tangible. I'm not saying I'm going to take you to the moon. I'm going to tell you how exactly we're going to get there. I'm presenting you with very unique ideas about greater collaboration, greater outreach, greater connection, and I'm developing action plans on how exactly to get there. And furthermore, I don't think you need experience to be the vice chair. I think anybody could be the vice chair. Anybody who's willing to step up to the plate, be a leader, and has unique ideas, and that's all it takes to be the vice chair. As long as you're willing to guide people, be a resource, be a mentor, but also make sure you're playing on the same playing field as everybody else. You know, everybody else here is wanting to make change, and you're just somebody who is going to help them initiate and facilitate that. And so for that, all you need is the right ideology. You don't really need experience. Anybody could do it as long as they are willing and able to be the resource and be the guide that all these senators need them to be. And that's what sets me apart from all previous vice chairs.
What sets me apart from previous vice chairs is the fact that I am going to take the initiative to fix issues that have been held in this body for too long. Whether this is an issue that started last year, whether it started the year before, or infinitely far back until the student association started. I'm not going to neglect those issues. I see them. If you vote for me, you know what you're voting for. I am going to fix the issues that you all have and that you've all expressed and that I've specifically outlined. Again, I'm focusing on engagement, transparency, and accountability. Accountability. Not just for senators, but for myself. I am going to be the one that is held accountable for getting those documents public. I am the one that's going to be held responsible for tabling and for getting the voice out. I am going to be the one that is held responsible for helping all of you to know what you're doing. If by the end of this year you don't know what you're doing, I failed.
All right, thank you very much. For the last senator that I have on my list of first questions, we're going to go over to Senator Iwumi. Did I say that right? Iwumi. Okay, Senator Iwumi, you may ask your question. And for this, we will start with Senator Jamil.
Hello? Oh my God. Hi. So my question is, how do you differ from the other candidates when it comes to publicity for, say, for example, providing more information on, providing more information about what our jobs are?
I believe I differ from the other candidates in this aspect is that what I'm saying to you today are not just empty words. It's not just to promote a platform. These are things that I 1000% can assure you that I will follow through on, not just for a week, not for a month, but for the entirety of the year. All of these programs and this outreach and to publicize essay in a good way so that people aren't just showing up when something bad happens, so that we have greater public comment on just any regular old day. I will do this by conducting positive outreach, positive advertisement of essay, and I will stick to this plan for the entirety of the year. It's not something that I'm going to back out of or get lazy on. I'm a very dedicated person and I'm passionate about these goals, and I'm passionate about making positive change and ensuring that all of us here are engaged and dedicated to making change and dedicated to promoting the student voice. And with that dedication and leadership, I differ from the other candidates as these goals are something that I plan on going 100% on.
I think that in this sense I differ because I last year when I was sitting back there, I gave a public comment almost every meeting. I know what the students that are sitting back there are feeling throughout the meeting as they watch chaos ensue some days. I know what they recognize, and I find it really important to figure out why they don't care, figure out why they don't know, and fix those issues. And I don't believe that those are empty words. I think that fixing those issues are something that anyone can do, and I think that it takes someone to put in the elbow grease to do that, and to let folks know not only how they can do it, but why they should.
So when it comes to differentiating from the other candidates, I really do believe that I stand out in terms of being dedicated towards the goal of bringing more students to our boardroom, to our meetings, and eventually into Senate seats. Not that long ago, this body was able to fill this entire room with members of the public. Partially because we had great Senate staff, partially because Senate engagement with members of the public were up, and we're making sure that we were communicating critical events to our constituents, such as Senate meetings. So when it comes to differentiating, I believe that I have unique strategies in getting students to actually come to us. And I mean, it's no knock on you guys. I would love to also see you guys join me in the goal of actually reaching out to students, meeting them where they're at, and bringing them into our fold, bringing them into the conversation, because that's really what I want to do. We're elected and accountable to the members of the public. I want to make sure that their voice is prioritized more than any of our voices at 8 p.m.
All right, thank you very much. So that does conclude the first round of questioning. Are there any more questions that senators have? Every senator does have at least one question, so if you haven't asked one, I'll prioritize you first, but if you don't, then we'll go, this time I'll go counterclockwise, and I'll take your names down, and then we will proceed. Yes, we have a motion. We have a move on the floor to go into debate. Senator Khan, is that a second? Okay, do we have any objections? No. Okay, so we are going to move into debate. I'm going to ask candidates to leave the room, and also please leave your cell phones and electronic devices in the room as well. And then we can jump into debate. So, as a reminder, all senators have a max of 2 debate points, and you have 5 minutes per debate point. Reminder for no character attacks. We want this to be respectful, focus on why candidates are qualified or not qualified for the job, no personal implications, no inflammatory language. I think we'll do it, I'll do debate the same way we did questioning, where if you have a debate point, you can put your card up, I will write your name down, and we will go counterclockwise this time for debate points. Okay. So. We have some. All right, going this way. Debate points. Senator Manifest. Senator Murrah. And then any more going this way? Any other debate points? All right, we can start with Senator Goldsmith. Go ahead.
This looks like a brand new mic and it makes me happy. Anyways, I would like to say that I have seen Dylan Klein do a lot of good work in this body. He, I will admit, is a very controversial figure, but that does not stand in the way that he is not dedicated to helping the students. We should be looking at people's merit and not rumors and conjecture. He worked with me many a times on many bills to help promote the student voice within the Student Association. I find that extremely important, and I have personally seen his own dedication for the role. I know for a fact I am going to be voting for Dylan Klein So I wish all the other candidates luck, and I'm happy to hear your points.
All right, we will move on to Senator Gardner. You were next in line.
Hi everyone, I'll keep this short and simple. Senator Jamil, I've seen her work countless hours. I was on the ethics committee with her, and I was just a general member, but Senator Jamil being the chair of that, I've seen her passion, I've seen her questions about the 700s and just understanding them, and we really worked through those, and it was hard working through those. And I think she has some great ideas about that, and I think we need to start looking at those bills especially. And another point, I did see her chair that one time on Zoom, and it just really stuck with me, and I'm so proud of her for that. And I think we all need to take those 2 points into account. So she's chaired before, and she was a chair for the ethics committee, which is a very big part of the Senate. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Gardner. Senator Miller, go ahead.
Hello, everyone. It's not that often that we have the former vice chair in the room when we're conducting a vice chair election. I think it's been a couple of years. But I know Senator Jamil. She was one of our committee chairs last year. Countless hours she put into the Senate. She handled, I want to say, near 7 investigations, and she did it diligently and without assistance from Senate leadership. So I commend her for that. I've also seen her the past few weeks planning this campaign, planning this night, planning her speech. I know she has the skills and the leadership qualities in order to make it necessary and a good vice chair. I'm really excited to vote for her tonight, and I encourage you all to do the same. But yeah, the job of a vice chair is easy when you have good leadership, and I think you have good leadership in Chair McGrath. And so I'm excited to see what this Senate administration does, and I hope you all cast your votes tonight for Senator Jamil.
All right, thank you, Senator Miller. Senator Khan, go ahead.
Thank you. I want to talk about a couple of things that I think are important in a vice chair as somebody who sat here for 3 years. And I think one of the most important things, and this is super underrated and people don't talk about it enough, is having experience in this university outside of Senate, to be able to understand how budgets work and how e-boards for different organizations work. So important, and you cannot do this job specifically in leadership without having that experience, in my opinion. I also think that the other thing that a vice chair needs to be is approachable and somebody who everybody is comfortable with, and that makes everybody feel included and doesn't target individuals and doesn't work against people. And I think that judging by those things, I think Sydney is lovely, I think he's wonderful, and I really cannot wait to work with him, but I think he just needs skosh more of experience in a leadership role outside of here, because it is so important to be a leader standing over there. And Sarah Jamil, judges coordinator is not an easy job. President of mock trial is not an easy job. And she eats it up every day, to be able to manage budgets and deal with things the way that she does, to deal with personal conflict, to deal with public speaking and being a liaison between senators, Senate body, administrators. Those skills that she has from being a leader outside of this body is so important to being vice chair. And she's also a very open and welcoming individual. She's helped me a ton on legislation. I have never known anything about her ethics committee, which is exactly how it should be. And the fact that she was able to keep that under wraps with lacking bylaws and kind of intense amounts of reports is really impressive, and something that I personally haven't seen before. And I do agree with her when she says that experience doesn't mean you don't need experience to be vice chair, or you don't need experience for leadership, but the experience that she has, even though this is a new role for her, is just the right amount of skills and the perfect amount of personability and everything else to make her the perfect candidate. And I think she's gonna eat and slay. I also know from knowing her for 3 years and also knowing Chair McGrath for 3 years that combo wombo is gonna eat. So I feel like it just needs to happen.
All right. Thank you, Senator Khan. Next on my list, I have Senator Matapat. You can make your debate point.
So, if many of you guys don't know me already, my name is Ethan Matapat. Previous to serving as a senator, I was staff